Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I've learned as I've grown into the person that I am today. And I'm just filming a few videos over here on Saturday, and then I'm going to go outside and vlog. And then tonight, I am binge watching like crazy Sister Wives to try to get it done in time for the premiere tomorrow night. I have like season 18 and like 3/4 of season 17. So pray for me that I get done with Sister Wives. I'm like so into this Sister Wives world. It's so crazy. So I thought that I would relax my mind a little bit and come over here and read a meditation or two. We'll see. So today's the 14th. So let's look over here and see what the meditation says in The Language of Letting Go by Melody Beatty. Probably my favorite meditation. It is my favorite meditation book of life. Let's see what, I'm going to probably do these, for the next couple days, and then I will get back to questions that you guys leave. So, if you guys want to kind of do like Ask Peter or a Dear Peter kind of thing in the comment section below, and you have any kind of questions about recovery or grief, or I always say this in my videos, but if you don't feel comfortable leaving it in the comment section, grief, recovery, life experience, anything, it's all just based on my personal experience. None of it is expert, whatever. But I've said this for the last couple years, and people do, but if you don't feel comfortable leaving it in a comment section, feel free to DM me, feel free to email me. You can email me anonymously, and I will, anything that I read over here as far as a comment, a DM, or whatever, I will not mention your name in here, and I will, I can respond to that topic that you guys have. So, I will say this, if you put very specific things in there about, like, my husband, that's 38, well, I probably won't read that. I will probably, make it concise and just kind of share the overall sentiment about what the topic is. Okay, so if you guys have any questions or any topics that you want me to discuss, please put them in the comment section below, email me, or feel free to DM me. Okay, let's get into today's meditation. Like I said, it's September 14th today. I can't believe we're halfway through September already. Seems crazy. And yesterday I read from Journey to the Heart. So let's look at yesterday. Times of Reprogramming was yesterday. And today is What's Good for Me. Is this a long one? It's not too long. This might be a good one. What's Good for Me, September 14th. I don't remember this one. When we are soul searching, be it for the smaller or larger decisions we face during the day, we can learn to ask, is this good for me? Is this what I really want? Is this what I need? Does this direction feel right for me? Or am I succumbing to the control and influence that I sometimes allow others to have over me? It is not unhealthy selfishness to question if something is good for us. That is an old way of thinking. To ask if something is good for us is a healthy behavior, not to be ashamed of, and will probably work out in the other person's best interest too. We shall not wander down a selfish path of self-indulgence by asking if a thing is good for us. We shall not stray from God's intended plan, God's highest good, by asking if a thing is good for us. By asking ourselves this simple question, we participate in directing our life toward the highest good and purpose. We own our power to control ourselves in self-esteem. Today, I will begin acting in my best interest. I will do this with the understanding that, on occasion, my choice will not please everyone around me. I will do this with the understanding that asking if a thing is good for me will ultimately help me take true responsibility for my life and my choices. This is really, really a powerful meditation. And interestingly enough, I was talking about Sister Wives, because when I was watching it, I think it was the night before, I think it's at the end of season 15. If you've watched it, it doesn't matter if you haven't or not, I'm going to explain it to you. But Christine is thinking about leaving her husband, Cody. She's one of the 4 Sister Wives. And Mary, one of the other Sister Wives, comes up to her, and they're like out in this property in the woods that they bought. And she's like, I can't do marriage to Cody anymore. And Mary says, you can't give up. You don't give up. You can't do that. And you have to fight for it. You have to try. And I'll never forget this, where Christine looks at her. I mean, I rewound it like 3 times just to I was like, oh my God, I have been there at so many moments in my life. And I'm not just talking about relationships. I'm talking about thinking patterns, about how I view the world, friendships, things like that. And she looks at her and she goes, but why? And Mary's like, because you have to fight for it. And she goes, but why, Mary? Like, I don't want this anymore. This isn't what I want anymore, right? And there's a part where she's talking to her husband, Cody, and Cody's like, you're giving up. And she's like, well, when she's talking to Mary and Cody later, it's talking about giving up. And she's like, but she's insinuating like, no, I'm giving in. And it's giving into what is good for me. This relationship is not good for her anymore. I have, in that moment when I was watching it, I was like, I have been there so many times at this crossroads in my life, right? Where I was like, this is not good for me anymore, what I'm doing. This friendship, this thought pattern that I have. I mean, it doesn't have to be a relationship. It doesn't have to be a job. It doesn't have to be, it can be something just as simple as, you know, me, like, there was a period in my life where I just couldn't watch a lot of reality TV and horror movies because it was bringing me a lot of negativity. I had to take a break from that for a while. It wasn't good for me. And then I came back to it, you know? But at that period in my life, like, I was stressed out. There was a lot going on in my life. Like, that was just, it was not a healthy place for me. I had to be very careful. I used to talk about it in my vlogs. I had to be very careful about my intake of what I was I bringing in a lot of negativity, you know? And so I asked myself that on a quite regular basis, like, is this good for me? Like, what is this road that I'm going down? Is this good for me? Is this healthy for me? And I think it's something that we should each ask ourselves. Whenever you come to a point, I think, where you have this gut feeling like it's time for me to go. Like, that doesn't mean, like, if you're in a relationship or you have a friendship or you're in a job or something like that, that you're like, okay, it's time for you. That doesn't mean that it's like, okay, this is time for me to go. That's not when it is, right? It's like you have that gut feeling and then maybe you process through that. But I think one of the ways that we process through that is that we ask ourselves, like, is this good for me anymore? You know, like, I can remember the job that I had when I worked in treatment. I worked in treatment for 13 years. And I can remember, like, when I finally resigned. And that was a really, really hard day, sitting down with my supervisor and resigning, you know. And I can remember, and she looked at me and she said, "Are you sure?" You know, and I had already thought it through. And I was like, it's time, you know, like, it's time. Like, it's time for me to go. And, you know, and that was a really, really hard thing for me because I thought I was going to be there a lot longer, you know, and it wasn't necessarily like good or bad for me. It just was that I was a different place in my life at that point, you know, and there's been friendships of mine that I've looked at and I'm like, yeah, I think that this friendship has, like, you know, I've heard the saying a long time ago that friends come in our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, you know. Well, I've had season and reason friends that I thought were lifetime friends. And it's really sad because in retrospect, I've looked back and I was like, they never really were lifetime friends. Like, I thought they were, but they really weren't. I either learned a very valuable lesson. I've actually learned from friendships that I've had the importance of setting boundaries and limits with other people in my life, you know? And I've also learned the importance of that some friendships are just for a season. And that's great, you know? And you can look at that friendship and you can say, you know what, I had a really great time with this person during that time, but I'm a different person today. And I can't go back and continue to live what I lived 20 years ago. You know, I talked about that in a video the other day. And it's like, so at that moment you ask yourself, is this friendship, is it good for me anymore? And it doesn't necessarily mean it's bad for you. It just means it's not where you're at in your life. When we talk about things being good or bad for us, it's like when I was talking about leaving my job, it wasn't bad for me. I could have stayed there. I was moving on. Different things were going on. You know, it's like I needed change in my life at that point, you know? And so I think that's the thing, right? Is that you have to ask yourself, you know, like in romantic relationships, friendships, opportunities that you've had, jobs, living situations where you're at, like, is this good for me anymore? You know, it's like, or is it time for me to make some changes? There's been a lot of times in my life where I've asked myself, like, is this good for me? Am I enjoying it? Am I having fun? I'm kind of at a point today where I was actually going to do a whole video about this. Like, this is kind of a really simple example of this, but I was going to do a whole video about this because I bought this calendar book this summer and I was going to start, you know, like journaling every single day and like everything that I did. Well, I did do it. I did it for like 5 or 6 weeks or longer, right? And I got to the end of it and it was feeling like this thing that I had to do at the end of the day. Like, I'd be sitting watching TV and I would look over at my computer and I'd be like, oh, I haven't done that today. And I would go over to the computer and I would write down, like, and it was just basically a press conference. It was like, I did this, I did that. What was my weight at the top for the day? I would usually put that in there earlier in the day. If I walked, if I didn't walk, what TV shows did I watch? What TV shows did Alex and I watch? Just so I could look back on it, right? And I was like, I'm not enjoying this. Like, I'm not having fun with it. This is starting to feel like a duty. And so I just was like, I'm stopping this. I'm not doing this anymore. There's no reason to continue to do. I'm not doing things in my life anymore unless they're a commitment that I've made. I'm not doing things willingly that I do not enjoy. You know, it's like, why? Life is short. Why are you like making yourself do this like press conference every night that nobody's seen but you and you're not even enjoying it, you know? And it was interesting because I bought one of the things that I did enjoy from that was at the end of each day, I would do like my favorite memory from the day, right? And so I bought this like homemade notebook a while ago from this artist that I like, and it's sitting right out there, and I pass it every day, and I'm like, why don't you just take that and every day just date it and write your one happy memory? You don't have to make a press conference list. Don't do things that aren't good for you. It wasn't good for me. I wasn't enjoying it. And that's on a very, very simple level, right? But I think that that's important for us to remember is like, are we doing things that, you know, are good for us, good for our souls, good for our hearts, good for our you know, clear-headedness, our things, are we surrounding ourselves? I'm very, very conscious today of surrounding myself with people that are either positive or are willing to process things through with me if I'm going through something or if they're going through something. I surround myself with people. I'm not talking about people that are positive all the time, but I'm talking about people that are problem solvers. I'm talking about people that live in the solution, not the problem. I surround myself with people today that have a lot of hope in their life. I surround myself with people today that fight for me in rooms that I'm not in, and I fight for them in rooms they're not in. You know, I surround myself today with people that are loyal. I don't surround myself with anything today that is not good for me at all, and neither should you, because life is short, and I think that it greatly affects us, you know? I said this for years that, you know, in my youth, I was very much a chameleon. So if I was around these kind of people, like I would start like saying those things and whatever, like I can be that person very easily, and I have to be conscious of that, you know? Because if I'm around somebody that's very, very negative, I can become very, very negative like that. Now, that's my responsibility. I choose to do that. I choose to be around those people. But I can also have a choice to be positive or be negative. I also have a choice on whether or not, you know, what I have to look at things, everything, like what is good for me, what's not good for me, you know, and that could come down to anything in my life. And I think it's a very, very valuable question, you know, to ask yourself and say, this is good for me today, or this isn't good for me. And like I said, it can be anything from doing a journal to a romantic relationship to, like I said before, like what kind of shows are we watching? You know, I watch a lot of like scary shows, and people reach out to me and say, is it gory? Because I don't want to watch something that's really gory. I can't handle it. And I think that's a completely fair question. You set that we talk about boundaries all the time, but we always think they have to be really serious boundaries. That's a boundary that person has set. I don't watch gory stuff because gory stuff makes me not feel good, and so I don't watch it. I understand that. There was a period in my life where I didn't do that as well, you know? And so I totally get that, and I'm always honest with people. I'm like, no, it's not that gory, whatever. You know, somebody just reached out to me the other day about only murders in the building, and I was like, it's, you know, no, it's funny and whatever, but it is a murder story, it's a murder mystery, but no, it's not really that gory. And I think that those are fair questions, and really what these people are asking are, is this good for me? You know, and I think it's an important question that we should ask ourselves regularly. Is this good for me? I mean, there's a lot of things we have to do. Like, you know, a lot of people have to work 2 and 3 jobs a day just to put food on the table and pay their rent. They don't have the opportunity to ask themselves, is this good for me? But the things that they can, they have a right to, and they should. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section below. For anybody out there that's going through a tough time today, just remember, this too shall pass, the sun will shine again, and you will be okay. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.